And now, from beyond our dimension, this is the JeffMara podcast. Here's Jeff.
My guest is Ann Tucker, international best-selling author and trance channel for information from the Angelic Realm, Mother of Creation and Yeshua. The messages she brings forth offer angelic guidance that help to prepare us and usher us through the planetary shift in consciousness. Ann, welcome back. It's great to have you again.
Thank you so much. It's great to see you again, Jeff.
You know, as I was preparing for this podcast today, I noticed that you're channeling Yeshua, and I didn't see that in my prior notes. Is that something new?
He comes in when needed, I guess I would say. He has popped in several times. He comes in occasionally, like sometimes on retreat he'll come in. He actually showed up in my bedroom a couple times and freaked me out.
How did he do that?
Well, it started kind of slow. Like the first time he came in, I didn't know it was him. I just heard, I was in that kind of, it always happens when I'm in that just about to fall asleep state, you know, that kind of liminal state between awake and asleep. And I heard him calling me from the bedroom door. He just said my name, but it was projected. It was from my bedroom door. He just said, Ann, and woke me, eyes open, like there's a man in my room. But then I realized, oh, it was spirit, but I didn't know it was him. The second time it happened, same place, he called from the bedroom door, and all he said was, there's going to be a chicken disease. And then right after that, we had the bird flu and all the chickens died. And then, so it was like, and sometimes my guides in spirit will do that with me because I have a skeptical mind. So they'll give me kind of a proof point to show like, hey, this is real. And then it'll happen in real life. So that was that one, which is why he mentioned the chicken disease. Then a year later, I was in that state again between wake and asleep. And I was beginning a dream, and in the dream, it was Yeshua, and he had his head down like this, and he had his hands up like this, and he was offering me, like with his hands, like offering me, but I knew it was him. I could see him with hands up like this, and he was doing breath work, you know, and then at the same time that I was having the dream, I became aware that there was a man standing next to me, next to the bed, and I thought at the time, I thought it was my partner, like who else would be standing next to me? And so I started to ask, like, are you okay? What's wrong? Like, why are you here standing next to the bed? But I realized that my mouth wasn't working. And that's when but I could see the outline of the man standing next to the bed. That's when I realized that it wasn't him. It wasn't my partner. I turned to look. That's when I realized I was still asleep. I was having two dreams at once. I was having a vision and I was having a dream. And it startled me right awake. Totally freaked me out because I was confused, and I was very sure that there had been a man standing next to my bed, which will freak you out. And so immediately I start energetically clearing the room. And then I finally, it comes together, like, no, that was Yeshua. And then I'm like, wait, come back. I didn't mean to clear you, come back. But so he's shown up like that, which has been, but he was trying to show me that he was suggesting that I do breath work to help me with, my own growth. But, and it's different for everybody. Not that that's like a blanket endorsement for breath work, but it was something he suggested for me, which was cool. But yeah, he's come through, when he comes through, it's amazing. It's always amazing. It's come through probably 10 times, different times, whenever it's really needed.
One time I was like you, and what was happening was I was in that in-between dream and awake state, but I was like in the middle of the night. And only once did this happen, I just heard a voice say, hey, Jeff. And I was like, kind of like you, like, what? And I sat up in bed and I looked and my wife was still asleep.
Yep.
And, since that was the first and only time it happened to me, I was kind of like, you kind of think, am I going crazy hearing voices or what? And I just kind of like, oh, it's nothing serious,
Yep. Yeah, I'm sure it was one of your guides talking to you. So pretty cool.
Unfortunately, maybe I shut it down because it never happened again.
I don't know, like look at the distance between when Yeshua first kind of talked to me in that state was like, they were probably a year apart. Like the first one, it happened, and then maybe 6 months later, and then it was like another year before he came back and gave me the message about the breath work. But, and it wasn't like that kind of communication, I think, is different from the channeling communication. Because like if I set my mind to it and I sat down right now and we said, let's channel Yeshua, chances are he'd come through. If we call him, he'd come through. But in terms of when does he spontaneously arrive? I've never actually called him in. It's always been spontaneous. but it's different from, so in other words, he could show up a bunch when I'm channeling for others, but when does he show up for me? And it's been just those 3 times, but there was a distance between them. So, there is no such thing as time. So if he was kind of like giving me the handshake of like, hey, I'm going to communicate this way to you, it took another year for, so who knows, your guide could talk to you tonight.
When Yeshua or the mother of creation or whoever's from the angelic realm shows up, is their intent to give you a personal message or for you to take whatever message they give you and share it with the world?
Oh, great question. I mean, almost always I'm channeling for others, almost always. I do sometimes sit down and channel for myself. And when I do, the messages are very they will give me very specific advice, very, very specific advice. And people, I'm sure, like before I could channel, I used to think it'd be so amazing when I channel because I will channel all my information. I will channel always for myself. The truth is, channeling is a lot of work. It's very draining, and I do it a lot for others. And so by the time I'm done channeling for others, I'm too tired to channel for myself. Like I just, I do it once in a while. And I do in meditation, I meditate a lot, but actually connecting and trance channeling, I have to set aside time and say, this is the time I'm going to connect for myself and have a conversation for myself. And when I do, sometimes they'll come through and then it'll just go like go and go and go and go and go. And we'll have this incredible conversation, which is amazing. But I have to record it because I can't remember it. So the process for me, if I'm going to get messages for myself, is I trance channel it and I'm very present with them, but I just can't seem to I retain a very small amount of what comes through. So then I have to then go back and listen to the recording and transcribe it just like I do the messages I get for everyone. So it's a time consuming process for me. So if I'm going to channel for myself, it's 2 to 3 hours for me to kind of get the whole message. So I don't do it as much as you would think I would. But when I do it, it's super, super valuable.
I wonder if the average person out there thinks or said, if I could channel, I would do it every single day.
Yeah, but do you have 3 hours out of your day every day? You could do little bits, but once the thing is that's hard about channeling is making the connection. Once you're in, you can go and go and go and go to a degree. Coming in and out is the hard part. So when I connect, for me at least, everybody's different. For me, it's the connect, stop. It's like that's very draining. So I don't ask a ton of questions when I'm in channel. I just kind of let them talk because it's less tiring than asking questions, listening to response, listening. And the other thing is I find when I ask questions, what I am asking about is never as interesting as what they were just saying. But I'm not coherent enough when I'm channeling to be able to really understand everything that's coming through. I will kind of hear something and kind of it pulls me this way, and I'll be like, oh, what was that thing you just said? And then afterwards, when I listen to the recording, I'm always like, darn it, I should have just let them say what they were saying, because it's always more important, more interesting. So, so I tend to go in and just let them talk until I come to a natural, when I feel my energy starting to kind of pull down, and it just sort of stops.
How confident are you that who you are channeling are who they say they are? And is it possible that they could be, some malevolent entity or demon?
I have 198% certainty that it is who they say they are. And the reason for that is I'm a skeptical person. I don't accept things on the surface. And the way that my guides established a relationship with me was by proving themselves to me over and over and over and over and over again. And so they would show me things in my visions, and then I would see them in my reality. And they would tell me things about my life, and then I would see them come true. So in every case, and then I've had such direct, incredible, visceral experiences of them, and incredible feelings of when one time my three of my angels showed up and actually parted the veil for me so I could feel them. And the love I felt was like nothing else I mean, it's what people describe in what you in near-death experiences, which I know you hear all the time. But then aside from that, if you just listen to what they say, the messages are all love, and the frequencies that you feel that come through, that it is consistent, that it's love, it's never fear, it's always about trying to help us for our highest and best good. So yeah, so it is on every level. Like, could people worry, like, am I being, and it can happen for people when they first start to connect. I also am rigorous about maintaining my own energy field and making sure I'm always connecting at the highest, as high as I can go, as high as I can reach. So as a matter of fact, that has been one of the issues that I had early in my channelings, that my angels told me that there were beings, other beings, and there were specifically angels who were here on earth who would be happy to talk with me, but I would not allow them to, because I didn't feel their vibration. Like when I was connecting, I was always searching for the highest vibration, and their vibration has to be lower. So they're like, if you are more discerning and allowing for these lower vibrations, you can talk to angels on earth. But so anyway, so it's actually been in some ways limiting, but it has ensured that I've always been connecting as high as I can go.
Well, you're right about people who have NDEs experiencing massive amounts of love on the
Yeah.
other side. But what's fascinating is some of my guests who contact or have UFO contact also experience love coming from the UFOs. Probably not as much as you are, the NDEers, but they're still having this
Yeah.
sensation or feeling of love coming through.
Yeah, yeah. It is. I mean, it's the language of our universe. It's interesting that it is not the language of every universe. And the mother of creation told me that. She said basically our universe is governed by love, but there are other universes that work on different principles, which is fascinating to me.
Well, as you know, we're living in really turbulent times now. It seems like we're on the edge of World War III. Did the angels ever talk about this war? And if so, what did they say?
Yeah, yeah. They've been basically all of the things that are happening now, they told us about starting really in 2020. So you can start to see, and the things they told us about in 2020 have been gradually unfolding. Some of them happened right away, some of them in 21, 22, 23. That's all been occurring. So for example, the bank failures, they told us all about that, years before it happened. But specifically what they said is, yes, they've been saying an expansion of war, and they've been warning us like right up before each of these events happened as well. So they talked about an increase in Earth activity, and they said, like right before Mount Etna just erupted, they told us Mount Etna was going to erupt. So like they've been right on point this whole way through, and with very specific messages, very, very specific. For example, like with the loss of, they said that the US would lose its political hegemony. They told us that in 2020. And they said that there would be, that payment processing would be an issue. Well, payment processing is how this whole loss of the strength of the dollar, US dollar, happened. That we put sanctions, economic sanctions on Russia through the payment processing system. We cut off their access to the SWIFT banking system so they could no longer process payments, which was the moment that Russia started to leave the dollar standard and start to make deals in other currencies, which has had a huge effect on the hegemony of the US. So it's been shockingly accurate. I shouldn't say shockingly, because they are angels. They see these things. It's just the challenge for us is there, even though they tell us what's coming, and they try to be as specific as is needed without causing fear. Like they always manage to walk that balance, to walk that very gentle dance of giving us information so that we build a relationship with them, so that we feel like they're going to tell us if something's coming down the pike, but not so much that it puts us into, they don't give us gory details, right? There's no need for that. But about the wars, they did say that, and they talked about kind of the next phase of war, which they said that the US was going to be distracted. So there's this piece of it, which I believe will result in the US being drawn further and further into war. There may be some manifestations of war even here within the US itself. So there could be some things that happen here that are really difficult. And all of that distracts us. Then they say at one point, China may, if this all works out the way that it was at the moment, at the time seen, because things can change, right? We do it, like timelines can shift and all of that. But as they said it at that time, China would invade Taiwan, and they said Japan would then rally the rest of the world against China, and then that expands war. So yeah, so it's a multi-front like expansion of war.
Wow.
Which is not great news. I'm sorry about that.
Yeah.
It's not great news.
Well, since we're in June, that's pretty much, midway of 2025. What else have you seen for the rest of this year?
Well, angels don't do time. So in terms of when things are going to unfold, like I make my own guesses, but the angels really don't do time. They will tell us sometimes some things that are happening in the very near future. For example, like the recent eruptions and the increase in activity on the earth, which they said super cool. They said was actually the earth a major healing moment for the earth herself, and it's going to open up the potential, more potential for us, that we'll be able to hold a little bit more of this new energy that's coming in because of it. So we're meant to kind of embrace the major earth stuff that's happening right now. But there is stuff on the horizon still. The big moment is the flash of light. That is, I hope, maybe second half of 2026. But like I said, angels don't tell us time. But if I look at the astrology, that's kind of been my hope, has been then. But before that, there may be the Earth rift, which is something very significant that they've talked about. And the flash of light, let me expand on that a little bit. The flash of light it is a solar energy, but it is coming from the same sun that we came from. So, and it is in response to our readiness for it. So it comes as we are ready. And the angels have said we kind of have tipped over the edge. Like we are now in a state of readiness. So it's on its way. And this energy, they said, will be the moment that we look back on and say that everything changed when this energy comes to the planet. So it will be very distinctive. So there will not be a guess. Did it happen? Did it not happen? It'll be like crazy electricity all around us. So the way they showed it to me was they called it like starlight. I can't remember, starlight rainbow. I can't remember what they described, but it was like little arcs of like popping energy. Like it'll be like and potentially aurora borealis all over the place. Very distinctive energy when it comes. And this is light as light. This will affect our consciousness. So, and the angels have given us extremely detailed information about when this energy comes, how will it affect us, and how are we able to make best use of it, down to the very specific instructions about what our bodies will feel like and how we will begin to separate from our karma. So the energy, they said, is available to everyone, every single person. It doesn't matter where you are in your journey. Doesn't matter if you're awesome or if you're like down in the dumps. It's available for every single person. The only thing that makes a difference, whether or not someone receives the energy, is are we willing? And so are we open to it? And the only way we can be closed to it is by hanging on to what was. So if we have, and it always reminds me of that biblical story of the pillar of salt. Like, don't turn around back to Babylon or you turn into a pillar of salt. Like, don't cling on to what was. You have to face the future. So that doesn't mean we're not allowed to grieve loss, but they say witness the loss, grieve it, and then turn to see the phoenix rising from the ashes. So this means if there's things we're afraid of losing, things that we're hanging on to or clinging on to from the past, that prevents some of this energy from coming in. But the energy will bring us to the doorstep of our own shift in consciousness. It's up to us. We always have free choice. At that point, they'll bring us up to the doorstep. We choose if we want to move into that higher state of being or remain in our 3D reality, which is an absolutely available choice. Like for many souls, they will choose to stay in the 3D construct because it's an amazing learning environment. And they may, as a soul, have the wisdom and the discernment to say this is better for them. So there's no judgment in that at all. But what that means is they're not going to be taken out of your life or moved to like some other place. It just means that when they pass, they won't reincarnate here. It's all that means. And when they reincarnate, they will reincarnate on a new place that is in the karmic construct so they can continue the journey the way they want to. That's my understanding from the angels.
Yesterday in the news, I saw that some certain star went supernova, and if you went outside, you could see it like a really bright star.
Yeah.
And I just didn't feel like going out and looking for it. But I'm assuming that's completely different from the flash of light you're talking about. So
Yeah.
what will the flash of light be like? How long will it last for?
I believe once the energy gets here, like it's not a one and done. It's not a thing where like if you're not ready when it comes, you miss the boat. It's not that. I believe it will raise the conditions here permanently. And so like throughout the rest of your life, wherever people are, they will have the opportunity to access and hold more and more and more of that frequency of that energy. Um, uh, but it will be, my understanding is that when it comes, they said it will be a very, very distinctive moment. If you are out when it comes, like I said, we will see it. It'll be visible. We will know it's here. It's going to be very, very obvious to us. And when it comes, they said, if you're out, if you're not home, don't worry. It doesn't mean that you have to like, oh my gosh, I'm at the supermarket. What do I do? Like drive home. You're going to be all right. Like go home. And then, but they say that they really are encouraging us when it comes to go to wherever is safe for you, wherever's comfortable. Even if you're traveling, just go back to your hotel room. If you're home, go home. And then they say you really want to kind of shut out the world. Like go ahead and close the blinds, close the doors, shut out the world and go internal and go into love. And this is a really important part of it, because the fact is that there will be some people who are in a lot of resistance to this energy, and it will generate a lot of fear because they don't understand it. So if they would just let go of the fear and let the energy in, they would feel the love and it would be great. But there will be many people who are in fear because it's an unknown. It's what's going on. It's scary. So, but there's nothing to fear. They've said the light won't hurt anybody, but people may fear it. And so they really encourage you, go home, close the blinds, shut out the world, just be in your own energy field and focus on love. And then they said, what will happen is that at a certain point, your body will start to feel very heavy, physically heavy. And when it does, they say, just lie down and relax. And that's all you got to do. And they said the angels, there are physical angels that are here that have incarnated. They're incarnated angels, but we can't see them. They're in light bodies. And that's, if you know people who see angels, those are typically the angels that they're seeing. They're incarnated angels in light bodies. And they are here to help us, and they will help us with the transition. So, and that heaviness that you feel is the separation from the karma. So your karma is an energy. And so think about how heavy, like if you've ever been in grief or depression, how heavy it is on the body, how it literally feels like you're carrying a weight in the body. That is energy. It's an emotion, and it has it has a frequency. It's an actual thing. And so as we're separating from our karma, as we start to separate from that, it's like pulling your foot out of mud. If you got boots and you're walking in deep mud and you're trying to pull your foot out, that's what it's going to be like. And we're going to be pulling away from the heaviest of our karma, releasing our karma as we move into the higher state of consciousness.
Will the flash of light result into the Great Rift?
No, the Great Rift is different. The Earth Rift is a big moment for the Earth to heal. It's a big, and so I wondered, they said it will be something that will be heard around the whole world. So I thought when Tonga went off, I thought maybe that was it, because you could hear it halfway around the world, but nope, they said you'd hear it all the way around the world. So bigger than Tonga, a very, very big, and I believe it is an undersea volcanic explosion, volcanic eruption. And it is, like I said, this whole thing is instigated, all of this opportunity for us to heal, instigated by the earth. She is a soul. The earth is ready to shift. She's ready to grow in her own conscious state, which is why, like as humans living on earth, we kind of have to choose. If we're going to stay here, we have to be in the new vibration. We can't stay here if we're not, in terms of reincarnating. But yeah, it's, I believe, going to be somewhere over near Indonesia. And I've had a couple dreams about it, and they've talked about it at length. But I believe it's going to be somewhere over near Indonesia, and it'll be, I think that it'll have a pretty significant impact on the world. So they talked about the ocean sloshing. So like, rather than like, it's like the ocean going like this, like sloshing movements, potentially a lot of water evaporating out of the ocean and creating an enormous cloud cover. So there could be, going forward, there could be, and they said this all along, they've been talking about enormous amounts of flooding, which we've already been experiencing. But I think also in connection with this earth rift, that there could be an enormous amount of rain and also waves. So it could be just a lot of water, a lot of flooding. So, but yeah, so a major earth event is what they're talking about.
You've spoken about the 3 days of darkness.
Yeah.
What is that all about?
So they've talked about it in a couple different contexts. They have said that there will be a moment where our communications are shut down, where we no longer, they were very specific. We won't be able to make phone calls. There won't be, like, it's almost like the earth is in like a technology blackout. And so, and they said that they would like us, like we're meant to be moving into using telepathy rather than a telephone. So like they would like us to be able to talk to each other telepathically. And I know a lot of people are already experiencing some of that just randomly, where it'll just pop in. And I've had that happen too, where it's like all of a sudden you're knowing who's going to call before they call, or you're anticipating what someone's going to say before they say it. But yeah, so they've talked about the technology blackout, and they've, a lot of people have a lot of fear about the 3 days of darkness, that like when I first shared a video about it, it tapped into, and I didn't know it at the time, but there's a lot of information, I would call it, in different religious traditions about a 3 days of darkness that really sound terrifying, where they talk about demons rising, and don't go outside or you'll be sucked into it's terrible. And the angels don't talk about that. They don't say that it's going to be that. I do believe that there will be a lot of energy moving, But like I said, focus on love. Put your vibration where you want to be. There's nothing to be afraid of. That we are still incredible manifestors. We manifest what we fear. We manifest, what we believe in. So yeah. So I don't think it is a thing to be afraid of. I don't think the 3 days of darkness is something to be afraid of. So that's one thing about all of this stuff. Like, it sounds, when you talk about all these things back to back to back to back, people are like, how could I not be afraid? Because there's going to be so much change, and humans fear change. Like, what do I do? How do I prepare? And I will say, number one, we can't prepare. It's like, if you don't really know the full scale of what's going to happen near you, you could prepare all your life for all these things and find out the thing you prepared for was not the thing that happened. And they don't want us to waste our lives preparing out of fear. They want us to invest in our lives, to experience our lives. Continue. If you're planning a trip, plan the trip. If you're not meant to go, something will stop you. Like, have your life. And then the biggest thing they say is yeah, lots of stuff coming, but not everything happens everywhere. So for example, like, already this stuff has happened about, about, there's been issues with supply chain. There's been issues with the economy, with the dollar, with, earthquakes. There's a lot of this stuff is already happening. But did it happen in your backyard? Did it happen in your living room? So they say not everything happens everywhere. Where you're living, you may have one thing happen. You may have flooding near you. I happen to know that when this happens at the river at the bottom of my hill will flood, because I've seen it, in my visions, I've seen that it will flood, and there will be a time period where it's difficult for me to get out from my neighborhood. And that's okay. I'm all right with that. But that's what I mean, is that not everything happens everywhere. When people start to feel frightened or afraid, just bring your awareness back to where you're sitting right now and recognize there's crazy things going on in the world right now. Like, there's wars happening, and there's crazy stuff going on. But are you safe right now? Look at your home, look at your space, look what you are. People are watching you right now. And Jeff, they're watching you, and not that people are watching them. I wanted to clarify. No one's watching you. I meant, like, people are watching Jeff at the moment. And wherever you're sitting, wherever you happen to be right now, you're perfectly safe. So even though all this crazy stuff is happening, so bring your awareness back to the reality of your experience and recognize that there's nothing to fear.
Is it imminent that a planetary shift is going to take place? And if so, do you have a timeline for it?
We are in it already.
We're already
so yes,
in it.
we are in it. But it is shifting now, and the big moment, like, there will be the pinnacle, like the big moment where, like I said, there'll be a moment where the angels say, this is the moment that everything changed. We will look back on it and say, that right there is when it was like it was, and now it is. And that's coming. And I am hoping, like, second half of 2026, I'm hoping for it. I do know that after it happens, the shift, that flash of light, is what really brings in the shift of consciousness for humanity. But many of us are stretching and growing and broadening ourselves, incorporating more and more of our own light by accepting more and more of who we are. And that is allowing us to embody more and more of those higher frequencies. But are we all the way there yet? No, we're not. The whole earth will go through this pivotal moment where we are there. And then after that, that opens us up to true telepathic communication. But what that means is, like, imagine so many of your audience, they're going to be empaths. So imagine if you had your empathy, but now it's dial it up to 11, where you can feel another person's truth really, really easily. But everybody can do it. We are all feeling what it is to be each other. And imagine what a massive change that would have in our politics and in our global reality. Like all of a sudden, you wouldn't want to have a nation that had lots where another nation had a little, because you would feel their pain as if it was your own. We wouldn't have war because you would feel what their needs are, what their worries are, as if they were your own. Like we will come to, it'll bring us to world peace, which is the only way we're ever going to reach world peace is if we change. And this shift in consciousness will change us. And once we achieve world peace, that is what opens up the doorway for us to become galactic citizens. And so then we will have start to have connections, open contact with other beings, and they will begin to help us in some really meaningful ways, help us with travel specifically, and energy, which is very exciting.
Now, didn't you say earlier that after you transition, you have the option to either come back here or go somewhere else, like a
Yeah.
new Earth?
Yeah.
What will the new Earth be like?
Well, I don't know much about it. I just know that it is not this earth and it will still be in a 3D karmic construct, the way that we know of it, the way we know it. It'll be a place the way that earth is now, where you create your reality from inside of you at a subconscious level. And then you have to encounter it. And through that encounter, you try to learn about yourself, where reality is reflecting back to you what your limiting beliefs are, that kind of stuff. And so that will exist in this other place, which has already been created from what I understand. It's already there. And it is an option for people to go there if they want to stay in that karmic construct, to continue learning on that path that's available. But it's not here.
You mentioned that the ETs will help us in travel. Will they be helping us in consciousness or anything else?
The angels haven't said anything about them helping us in consciousness, but they did specifically mention the travel piece of it. And I do know that like I've had specific visions of being in my lifetime, seeing myself on like a spaceship of some sort. So, but I was old. I was older than I am now by a good clip. So I don't know when that happens, but I know it happens in my lifetime, which is super, super cool. So, but they really haven't shared about that specifically.
Would you consider yourself to be a light worker?
Yeah, I think my definition of a light worker, and I know there's been very specific, like there's this many light workers on the planet. I think that anyone who chooses who has awakened, number one, which to me, to be awakened means that you realize that everything in your reality it comes from inside of you, that you no longer blame the external. You now realize that whatever is happening in your reality stems from a belief or situation you're holding inside of you. That to me is the moment that you shift from being asleep to waking up. And then if you are awake and you decide that you want to help others to also awaken in some way, I think that makes you a light worker, as you are holding the light, embodying the light, and then trying to share the light. So yeah, I think I definitely consider myself to be a light worker, very proudly.
Some of the things you talk about may be considered to be, dark and create fear. Is it okay to talk about stuff like that, or premonitions of darkness? Because is it possible that we're creating it?
The stuff that the angels share with us, they are always very, very careful to not say things that are fear intentionally to create fear. So you'll notice, if you ever look on my own YouTube channel, you will see that I never use fearful or fear inspiring headlines on my videos. And the point of that is that we create through emotion. What emotion are you holding? And if you are leaning into fear, sure, you can generate more ripples of that notion. But the angels have to walk a line, because how would you feel if you had a very, very, very good friend, your very best friend, who knew that there was something horrible coming your way and they never told you? How would you feel? Like, you would feel like they let you down, that they betrayed your trust. So the angels are in terms of that position. How do they navigate that? They need to tell us the things that so that when these things happen, that we're not caught flat-footed, that we are not sent so far into fear that we lose ourselves. We want to be in a place where we have a general understanding of what might come. We have a chance to get used to the idea. And then when it comes, we say, okay, this is the flash of light. I understand. And this is what they told me about. And they told me it's going to be all right. And so that is, I find, that's the path that the angels take. is they let us know, but they do not do it in a way that is fear-mongering. They say it, and I understand that some people feel that people who have potentially even people who struggle with anxiety in general may find that it creates fear. And so the angels have given us multiple incredibly profound messages about how to cope with fear and how to help ourselves through that. And the idea is that you want to be able to work through that now before the events arrive, so that when they come, you're like, okay, I've come to terms with this and I'm ready to roll with it. I'm ready to move into this higher state of consciousness.
Can you give us some examples of how to work through fear?
Oh, I mean, one of the things I mentioned, which is that idea of come back to your four walls, come back to the reality that's around you. Another piece of it is to when things happen, when you do have, say, for example, that you are in an area, like what happened in Ashland, North Carolina, where they had, unprecedented storms, and it just, I mean, destroyed so much of it, and terrifying, scary, awful. But in the very next moment, so people would have to grieve. They'd have to grieve the losses, grieve the loss of what used to be. Then in the next moment, turn around and see the phoenix rising from the ashes. And it is that focus of noticing that everything that's occurring, they say whatever we lose was something we never needed. The angels have told us that because of the shift that's coming, because of where we are right now and the amount of consciousness we've been able to embrace, which they said we've actually been doing better than we thought we would before we got here. Before we all decided to come to Earth, they said that, like, in terms of giving us a report card, we're actually doing better than we thought, which is amazing. But they say that they will be able to perform miracles. And I've had a really hard time with that message when it first came through, because I'm a skeptical person. And so I usually channel Thursday nights and then share the messages on Friday on my channel. And Thursday night I got the message, and they described this amazing thing. They said, yeah, if you are in a place where it's not your time and you happen to be in the middle of a tsunami, like they can like bubble you and go, I don't know how, but like save you. Like they said they can intervene and they will do miracles for us. But I had a really hard time with that concept. I was more like, oh, wouldn't that be wonderful? Like, that's such a lovely message. Boy, I hope that's true. I couldn't embody it because it just felt so supernatural, you know? So that night I went out to dinner. And after dinner, I walked past this really swanky clothing boutique. It's like the Italian, gorgeous. I never go in there. It's very expensive. But today, for that day, for whatever reason, I was like, let's just go in and like feel the fabrics, go in and like, ood all over the clothes. So we go in, and the ladies that were there were super nice. And they did the only thing that was going to get me to stay a little longer, is that they told me they had a super secret 40% off rack in the back. So they let me back in. They pulled out the magic rack of 40% off. And I'm trying things on and we're chatting and I'm just enjoying myself. And the ladies asked, what do you do? And I said, well, I channel angels. And one of the women, she gets very quiet and she says, I saw an angel once. And of course, like, I'm hooked. Okay, you got to tell me the story. And her coworker, who she'd been working with for like 15 years, had never heard this story. Like, so she doesn't tell anyone this story. But this night, on the night that I needed to hear it, she started telling me this story. And she says when she was in her 20s, she was moving here to the US from France. And her flight flew in, she got held up at customs, and she missed her connecting flight. And it was late at night, and there was nothing, there was nowhere for her to go. There was no way for her to book another flight out until the morning. But she had $10 in her wallet, and she had a baby, a very little baby with her. And so she was just terrified. She said she sat on the floor. The restaurants were closing, everything, literally the whole airport was shutting down, and she had nowhere to go. And she was just going to have to spend the night on the floor with her baby. So she fed her baby, and then she kind of sat there, and she said she was sort of crying, and this gate agent comes over and says, are you okay? What's going on? And she tells her the story, and the woman says, come with me, I'll take care of you. And so she takes her over to one of the desks, and she opens up the back, and she goes in, and a couple minutes later she comes out with a stack of papers, and she gives her a voucher for a free shuttle, a voucher for a free night in a hotel, a voucher for a free shuttle back. And then she rebooks her a flight in the morning. And she says, here you go, everything you need, have a great night. And the woman is like, she's so grateful. She's crying and she's picking up her baby and all her things. And she gets up to say thank you. And she can't find the woman everywhere. So she goes to the hotel, has her beautiful night, quiet, easy, restful, comes back in the morning, and she hands the ticket agent her rebooked ticket. And the woman says, who booked this for you? And she says, well, the gate agent that was here, the ticket agent that was here last night. And the woman says, there was nobody here last night after 8:30. There's no one here. And she described her. She had bobbed gray hair. She was wearing the uniform. And she says, there's no one who works here that meets that description. And she knows she saw an angel. She knows it. And this was her miracle. But then the cool thing for me was that her miracle was inside my miracle. Is the miracle for me was that I had just channeled that day that miracles will be possible for us. And then I didn't believe it. So they brought me to this place so I could hear about a miracle. And it was so incredibly moving. The next day when I had to deliver this message on my channel, I could embody it. I could feel it. I could feel the beauty of it. So that is a truth. Like that is something that we can hope for, anticipate, pray for. Speak to your angels. Speak out loud, by the way. Speak to your angels out loud. That we have to form our thoughts into words for them to hear us. Not that they can't read your mind, but it's a way that they respect our free will. But yeah, so miracles can happen. So there's just a million reasons why they will help us with our fear.
Do you think we need to prepare for this shift at all, or just take it as it comes?
The biggest thing, yes, the biggest thing we need to do to prepare for the shift is to do everything we can right now to incorporate as much of ourself as we can. And what I mean by that, it's healing. And I used to hate the word healing when I started on my journey. I thought it sounded like there was something broken with me. Like, I don't need healing. Like, why did they say that? But what I mean by healing, now that I understand it, I love it. And healing it just means that there are things in your history, things that you've experienced, that you've said, that you've done, that other people have done to you. And we all have it, things that we wish we hadn't experienced, things that we reject. And there could be parts of ourselves that we've reflected on that we don't like, that we think that are judged by others, where we feel less than. Those are the things we push down that we try really, really hard not to experience. And the more that we can learn to love those parts of ourselves, to draw them back in, and even to love those experiences. If you have something really, really, really dark in your past, how do we get to the place when we can come to terms with it and love ourselves through it and bring that back in? The more we do that, the more light we hold. So that is, and the benefit to that is that this is not only helping you to raise your frequency to make the shift easier and helping all of humanity to move into the shift, but it is also making the absolute best use of the time we have left in this 3D reality. So the way I think about it is that living on Earth up until this point has been like reading the book of you, reading all about yourself, learning about yourself through this incredible teaching school that we've been in, where what's inside of you is shown to you on the great movie theater of life, where you're constantly running into yourself and running into your negative beliefs. And each time you learn something, it's like you read another page of the book, and that becomes something you get to take with you as a soul forever. But the challenge is that the book, when we go through the shift and we leave our karma behind, we leave that book behind. So it's great, we won't have karma anymore, but your opportunity to read the book is done. That we won't get to read anymore, that we move on in the next reality. It's not going to be the same. We're going to be working on a different thing. We're going to be learning about ourselves as manifestors. It's a totally different objective than what we've been doing. So these are the last moments. This is the last time living on Earth where you have this ability to be able to expand your soul in this way.
Well, would you say that time is running out, so we need to get to it?
Yes, 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 absolutely.
Well, speaking about time, coming up next or this September, you're going to be speaking at the San Diego Transcendence Retreat.
Yes, I will be.
What are you going to be talking about there?
Oh, I'm excited. I always love Suzanne's retreats, and I'm going to be sharing the Mother of Creation. So I'll be channeling the Mother of Creation from the main stage, which will be really, really fun. I love, love, love bringing her in. So, and then I believe I'll be leading some workshops as well. So I haven't seen the full schedule yet, but it should be a lot of fun.
When you're saying that you're channeling the Mother of Creation, that's not channeling Gaia, is it?
No, no. So Gaia, Earth, she is a soul of her own. And I have actually channeled Gaia before, only a couple times, but she has come through a couple times, usually related to helping people in terms of their relationship to being embodied and being here. But the Mother of Creation is the best way to describe her is, we have masculine and feminine energy. And both masculine and feminine energy were created, by God or by source. Please use your word. God is my word that I choose. But Mother of Creation is sort of like the embodiment of feminine energy, and she is the mother of all souls. So all souls are sort of come through a combination of the masculine energy and the feminine energy, but the feminine energy, Mother of Creation, is literally how we are born. She sings our soul song into creation, and she bursts souls from all over her body. And I asked her before, I was like, "Are you like kind of barefoot and pregnant up there in space?" And she's like, "No." And she shows me herself sort of dancing through the sky with stars coming out of her feet. Like she's infinitely creative. And so channeling her has been an incredible gift in terms of understanding how the universe works and what is the dynamic between feminine energy and creation. And she's all about that. And so she helps us to restore ourselves. She's incredibly restorative. So that whole journey back sort of down into the dirt and then back into form again and again. And it's about flow, and it's incredible what I have learned from her. Absolutely incredible.
Well, you're going to be having your own retreat called the Expand Your Heart Retreat in Seattle, right?
Yeah.
What are you
This
going
is
to
one of
be
my
doing
favorite
there?
things. Yeah. So that is, if someone wants a deep dive, if you are ready to be held in a container and to go deeper, maybe than you ever have, that retreat is the place to go. I'm channeling we basically, I call it Eat, Pray, Love, because we have incredible, beautiful vegan meals. And then we go into deep channeling sessions, healing sessions with the Mother of Creation and the angels. And then after that we have a break. So we eat, we channel, we have a break, eat, channel, break. And then we also have an awesome party on Saturday night with just with our group. So, but it is a super, super fun experience. And the vibe just gets higher and higher and higher as we go. So something interesting that the Mother of Creation shared with me recently is that each of us is the light. We know that we all have the light inside of us. But what she showed me is that when we are isolated, when we are alone, our light doesn't come out. Our light is inside of us, but it doesn't come out. The only way we can create the light is when we connect with another person. And then it's like the two lights connect and it creates light. So it's almost like the light is pulled out of us in the connection with another person. So imagine when you get all these high vibe people together for a weekend and you're held in that container and you're creating the light, and it just gets bigger and bigger by the end of this experience. Yeah, it's an amazing transformational journey. So yeah, so anyways, it's in October. It's in Seattle, which is my hometown, at a beautiful place. It's actually very, very well located. It's kind of a unicorn because it is this gorgeous lodge on a wetlands, 18-acre wetlands, but it is close enough to the airport that there's a free shuttle. So, which is like, it's like, how did that happen? But it's awesome.
Well, what's your website and your YouTube channel so people can find out more about you?
It's everything's under my name, Ann Tucker, Anne, and the last name is Tucker with a T. AnnTucker.com for my website, and my YouTube channel is also Ann Tucker.
And before we finish up, can you leave us with a last positive message?
Oh my gosh, there's so many things I could say on that one. I would just say that to be in peace with yourself and what is. And I think one of the challenges we have with being in peace with what is, we get to the idea of accepting what is. And I think we feel challenged by the fact that there's a lot of things that are happening in the world that we don't like. And we fear that if we accept them, we're allowing those terrible things to happen. And I think a key shift that people can make in how they're thinking about it that will make it easier, which will help them feel more peace, is to think that and to understand that by accepting something, it doesn't mean we have to like it. It just means that we have to admit that it's true, that we have to allow that this exists in our reality and at some level inside each of us. The terrible things in the world are part of our human experience at the moment. So allowing it simply means allowing that it's true. Doesn't mean you have to like it, just means that we have to come to peace with the fact that it is true and it exists. And that allows us to stop the battle. There's a big part inside of us that wants to resist, that cannot believe that some of these things happen, whether it be to other people or to ourselves. We cannot believe that they're happening. And there's a part of us that just is sitting there saying, did it really happen? Then can that really be? If we can just stop that by allowing it to be true, then people can find a lot more peace inside.
And thank you for your message, and thank you for being my guest again.
Thank you so much. Thank you. It's great to be with you, Jeff.
Thanks for watching the JeffMara podcast. I really appreciate you. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. And if you do, there are loyalty badges and other perks depending on your level of membership. All you need to do is click the join button underneath the video to find out more. Thank you for your support.